The last thing I wanted to be was a photographer. I was studying at the Design Institute to be a typographer. I wanted to invent new type. I was very influenced by all the great type masters. And then I had to go one night to a concert hall because I just had to photograph the moods of a person. So I went to photograph Zakir Hussain because I knew he made a lot of faces when he played, a lot of expressions. And I thought, that's it. I will take the pictures and I can take the night train to Bombay and we can have parties all weekend. But the organizer tried to stop me and I fell. I fell in a concert hall like this. And I was 18. I was very humiliated. So I waited outside the concert hall. Zakir Hussain was not such a big star at that time, so he came out after the concert. And I stood up and I put my hands on my hips and I said, Mr. Hussain, I'm a young student today. Someday I'll be an important photographer and then we'll see. And I just started crying because I was so angry for having fallen, And he said, it's no problem. You can photograph me in the morning when I'm practicing. I make the same expressions. So I went back and I sat with my friends, to go or not to go, to photograph this person. And that night is the night I think I decided to become a photographer, purely because it would allow me to be free. So I became a photographer so that I could be free of all the social obligations a woman might have in the early 80s in India, You get married, you have children, you have your hobbies, and maybe once they get married, you can do your... So it was all quite prescribed. And I wanted to be free to go where I like, to travel with whomever I like, to live wherever I want. And so it was great. Photography became my alibi, my ticket to freedom. And then gradually, I realized that this is an incredible medium, but it's been so limited. And I wanted to, my mother was an obsessive album maker. You didn't just make photos, you made a book out of them. You wrote to them, you displayed them under tables, you put a glass on the table and photos. So in a sense, I grew up with photography. But I didn't become a photographer because I loved photography, but it just allowed me to be free. I strongly believe that photographs are raw material, and you have to build something with them. It's a little bit like being a chef, You can't buy the best vegetables and serve them to people as the dinner. I mean, Italians might argue that there are tomatoes that can be served just as the tomatoes, but to my mind, you have to build a whole cuisine out of that. And the photo book, to me, is one form that is very suitable for photography. I have the possibility to build my own sequence rather than a photo exhibition, a traditional one, where prints are hung on the wall and then a collector can say, I'll have that note and that note. But I built a whole symphony for you. How can you just pluck a few notes like that? So the book, you can't do that with. So while I was struggling to find other forms where this plucking of notes wouldn't happen, the book was what kept me going, because in the book I had my sequence and I was the author of the work. I could determine how I wanted to present that work. And I worked with two exceptional publishers, Walter Keller of Scarlo and Gerhard Steidl. So they didn't care that I was Indian or I was a woman or I was, they didn't put me in any boxes. I was an artist and I could make whatever book I felt like. And they were my accomplices, So of course I feel very spoilt. I mean, how many people can say they had Walter Keller and Gerhard Steidl as co-conspirators? But that's how it was. And I love that the book is so democratic. I love that students can have the book. And now I even make work that is only available in the book. So you can be the most important collector in the world. But if you want to have the Zakir Hussain work, you have to buy the Zakir Hussain maquette. That's it. There are no prints. So I'm saying the book is the work. Pay attention. That is my work. There is no other form that work will exist in then, and then we'll know. So if my work has any significance to you, you'll get the book. If it's just economic value, then you won't get the book. So I like the economics of the book as well. I like that it doesn't allow photography to be out of reach of everyone. Of course, I was born to an archivist. My mother archived everything. She has files of all my medical prescriptions. She still cuts all my clippings and has another file for them for her own medicines. Everything has to be filed. Everything has to be archived. So I grew up with that. But when I got interested, I thought I got interested in archives. I realized I had been photographing them all through. I just didn't pay attention to those photographs. But now, as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, there must be an archive in this city too. And maybe the university has a really special archive, or this concert hall has an archive. I'm just programmed to think archive. So I've made a book, I've made a museum, I've made a book cart, I've made a bookcase. I made so much with the archive. But guess what I'm working on? The archive. Oh, each one of the awardees is people that one has studied and looked up to and admired, right up to Alfredo Jahr. But for me, the photographer who has been the most important is Robert Frank, because he taught me to defy photography, to not follow the rules, and I've proven him right, I think, that you have to go outside photography to really go into photography. If I receive the Hasselblad Award, because I still don't believe that I will, I would like to use it to make a grant or something to invigorate critical writing in photography in the region that I come from. I believe photography is, of course, an incredible medium, but it is immense. We haven't tapped maybe more than 5% of it. There are so many new forms, so many possibilities with photography. But for all of that to flourish, we really need critical writing. We need to be challenged. We need people to say, but why? Why are you doing this? What does it mean? And so I haven't had that critical engagement in the region. And so it's difficult to move very forward if you don't have that voice beside you, So if I were to get the Hasselblad Award, I think what I would like to do is to really set up a system where I can encourage critical writing in photography every year, and in a way pay back what Robert Frank did for me.